mean, I could listen to 80s music all day, but yeah, I might as well get started. Hi, friends. Thank you so much for coming to this panel on VHS, which proves that VHS is still alive in our hearts, you know? Like, everybody here is probably closer to, you know, my age. It's definitely something that is a large part of my life as an elder millennial, but I'll introduce myself in case y'all don't know. My name is Yasmina, and I am a columnist and host for Rue Morgue magazine. My column and series is called The Rewind Zone, and I write and I talk about my favorite lesser-known 80s horror films, and most of the films that I talk about are tapes that I own in my collection. People always ask me how long I've been collecting. It's such a weird question because it's just since I've been alive. Because tapes were just always in my life. I was born in 1982, so yeah, I still have tapes like from my childhood. Us collectors, we have what's called Grail tapes, and you know, like they could be like, you know, $1,000 tapes like Winter Beast or Sledgehammer, but my Grail tapes are the tapes from my childhood that I watched countless times that are still on my shelf after 40 or so years, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Secret of the Ooze. Like, that's like, I will go to bed with that tape, you know? I love that tape. So yeah, VHS is a huge part of my life, and yeah, so I made a PowerPoint presentation for you guys. So y'all are ready to talk about tapes? Awesome, excellent. Well, I wanted to get started with the concept of nostalgia and how that plays into, you know, like, collectors' lives. I mean, we're here at the Portland Retro Gaming Expo. You know, the word retro is in the title of this convention, and it's obviously something that is, you know, still current. And it's great to see the younger crowds and even like Gen X and millennials with children who are introducing their kids to things that existed before the internet, you know, tangible physical media and everything. But why? Why is it so important, you know? Like, so what exactly is nostalgia and what it means to me? So it's almost like I broke it down into like scientific terms. It's a positive sentiment for like a place, a tangible thing, a smell. I don't know about you guys, but like I love smelling books. Like I'm not an ebook person at all, but like I'll read an old 80s paperback novel and like every once in a while just like sniff the pages. Like that smell even like takes me back to that time of like my childhood, you know, and like, or a sight, like this blue screen of like when you're rewinding a tape in the VCR, like even just like looking at that screen on my TV, like it brings me bliss. Like I feel a sense of joy, and you know, like it's a happy personal association, and like what's happening in your brain at that moment is like a cognitive response in your brain, and it releases the hormones, you know, serotonin, dopamine, the feel-good hormones, and also I feel like it's good for your mental health in a way as well. Like even if you're, you know, like everybody has like their comfort movies, their comfort shows, and what exactly is going on in your brain when you're watching those shows, you know? Like it's like if you're having a really bad day, you're grieving, you throw on like the Dark Crystal tape that you owned when you were 5 years old, you know? And it just like, it comforts you, you know? And it's just whatever it is that you collect, it brings you joy, and it boosts your well-being, your mental health, and another part that I will bring up later about collecting VHS is it definitely increases social connectedness and builds friendships. Today is proven that this has occurred because I have been Instagram friends with a lot of other VHS collectors for many years, almost like 8 years. And we just met today for the first time, you know? And having that bond in real life, just that connectedness, you know? Like it's so much more personal. And there are events like VHS Fest at the Mahoning Drive-In that I go to every year in Pennsylvania. And, you know, like it's a place where we all congregate and are together for our like mutual love for this like one thing that we all like grew up with, you know? It's almost like it's like a family. So that's why nostalgia is very important to me. So now we're going to talk about a little bit of prehistory, before VHS. So analog video recording. What exactly is the tape? Magnetic tape is the medium used for stored data on the plastic film. So the plastic film is in between two layers of the magnetic black tape, and like the plastic film is the data. So that's where the film is. And it was first invented in the 20s for recording sound. And I believe like around like World War I, it was used to spy on Nazis. And they tried to bring it like into North America so that like Americans could spy during the war. And after that, some magnetic audio tape recorders developed since then include like I don't know, I'm sure a lot of people here remember like 8-track cassette tapes, like reel to reel. So yeah, before video, we had the audio, and then videotape began with VTR in the 50s. And that stands for videotape recorder. And basically that could record and play back video and audio from magnetic tape. So then it wasn't even until the 60s until a format was created that stored the tape inside of a video cassette. And that was played by a machine called a video cassette recorder, VCR. So I don't know about you guys. Okay, I'm assuming a lot of people here like maybe still like collect VHS, but VHS collectors, don't you just love it when people call them VHS players? It's like one of my favorite things ever. Like every time they're like, oh, do you still have a VHS player? I'm like, you mean a VCR? But yeah, so the very first VTR machine was a company called Ampex, and I believe Bing Crosby had something to do with this. He commissioned the company Ampex to make this machine. So yeah, thanks Bing Crosby. So yeah, the very first one was the Ampex VR 1000 open reel. Like, look how fucking giant that thing is. And then there was a portable one, the one in the middle, the double reel that actually like came inside of a suitcase. Like, how adorable is that? And then there was another VTR portable Hitachi single reel one. Yeah, I have never seen one in real life, but I'm sure they're out there. So, say goodbye to open reel. U-matic was the very first analog videotape inside of a cassette for the market in 1971. Sony and JVC worked together on this. So there were a bunch of, after U-matic, there were a bunch of videotape cassettes that were released. The big one on like the left there, that's the U-matic one. And then there's like the Video 8. The one in the middle is like little tiny like Betacam for like a video camera basically, but for beta. And then VHS and M2 tapes. There was also like at one point like Super VHS, but that's something that I've also never seen. I think they were just called SVHS. Yeah. Is that it? Yeah, I've never seen one of those, but yeah, the very first VCR that was ever created was for the U-matic, and that's it. That giant hunk of metal and wood, 1971 was the very first VCR. But yeah, U-matic tapes. The reels, they turned in opposite directions during playback, whereas like a VHS, the reels like turn in the same direction. But this also caused a lot of delay for the speed of the tape when it was playing, fast forwarding and rewinding. And because of this, the audio suffered. And really interesting about the U-matic tape is it had trouble producing the color red for NTSC. Standard, like North American standard, and on-camera talent were like discouraged to wear red. They were like, can you just like not wear red so that, you know, like to avoid technical issues. But however, at this time, it was only really used for like broadcasting businesses because they were very expensive. So it wasn't used for consumers whatsoever, and also it only like an hour recording time limit on the U-matic tapes. So yeah, definitely wasn't very popular for consumer product. But yeah, so at this point, they're like, well, we obviously need something that we can market to like the regular working man that can afford it. So that is when Sony created Betamax. So we have Sony with Beta, and then we have JVC with VHS. And there was a videotape format war that occurred. It wasn't just videotape as well. There were disc formats that were also trying to compete with this, CEDs, laser discs, VHDs. I used to have like some laser discs and CEDs, but once, I don't know, man, like as a collector with like limited space, I can't have too many collections. Like I'm like, okay, like I can only have my tapes. I can't also do like records and laser discs, and it's like too much stuff just like piles up. And but I always thought it was really funny, like laser discs, not dicks. Did I say laser dicks? Laser discs. I need a water. I think that Sean was supposed to bring me one, but oh, thank you, my girl over here. And yeah, so I got rid of my laser dicks. It was just too much. I don't have enough room for this, you know? Too much room. But yeah, so there are some notable differences between Beta and VHS, and the most interesting one that I find is actually the picture quality of Betas are better than VHS. I kind of started collecting Beta because I just think they're so cute. They're just so cute. They're like little tiny Beta tapes, like they're just adorable. But once again, I was like, no, I can't, because I love VHS more and I want to make more room for the VHS. So I got rid of my Betas, but I only kept like maybe 4. But the one that I'm really, really happy that I kept was curtains. And last year I was at a convention in Ontario, and the cast of Curtains were there, and they were very happy and surprised to sign my Curtains Beta, which is like pretty cool. But yeah, so but I know a lot of VHS collectors that are like team Beta actually, because yeah, like the picture quality is actually a lot better. However, the audio not as good, because Betamax, they use azimuth recording instead of guard band, which basically reduces like crosstalk, and so that's like when the separate signals, like they get picked up over each other and each other's like channels, and it causes a lot of like sound interference. So yeah, the sound isn't great on Beta, but as I said earlier, like the resolution was actually like way higher, like it's like triple than VHS tapes. So it definitely does improve the image quality. But Beta tapes have much shorter recording times. So VHS have a lot longer recording time, so you could like record multiple movies on one tape, like up to 8 hours. Like I still have VHS tapes like from my childhood that were like the recorded tapes that have like 4 movies on them with commercials. But also VHS were much cheaper to produce, so that was obviously very good for the, you know, like JVC and other companies that were brought in. So that increased the profit margins for video rental markets. And the VCRs for VHS were a lot faster. Yeah, and the Beta movie camcorder also suffered because it was record only and couldn't be used for like playback footage, whereas like a VHS like camcorder can view footage and output another VCR like for editing. So yeah, eventually VHS won the videotape format war by 1980. So yeah, these are some photos here. The JVC HR3300 VidStar. So that is the very first VHS-based VCR that was created in 1976. I don't have a top-loading VCR. I really want, like, have you ever seen the JVC one that has like the different colored buttons? Like there's a blue and like a yellow and a red like button. I just, you never see those in the wild, and like I'm not gonna pay like hundreds of dollars in shipping to, like, you know how heavy those things were too. But what I love the most about the top-loading VCRs though is the giant remote controls. Like they were just so huge. Like my friend in high school had one, and like the fucking like remote control was just seriously like this big. Like you could probably crack somebody's skull with it. I love it so much. But yeah, the Philips one is a later model VCR. Those are the ones that you always find at all the like Goodwills. I usually have like backups of those ones because like you always have to have a backup with these things. And yeah, I have the TV VCR combo. I have a couple because that's another thing that I need a backup of because you never know, like one day it's probably just gonna die. But I have actually never seen a TV VCR combo beta player. Look how adorable that is. I love it. And like also like the wood too. I'm also like obsessed with like wood paneling walls. Like, and there was also like, I don't know if you guys saw inside of the con, they have like a little setup with like the wood paneling, like huge like TVs with like retro couches and stuff. Like I walked past that and I was like, oh, like I just love it so much. But yeah, if anybody ever finds like a TV VCR combo beta, like hit me up because that would be pretty cool to own.
The TV VCR combo beta is just a little guy.
It's just a little guy?
Yes, just a little guy.
It's so cute. Like, isn't beta so adorable? But I can't. No, I can't start that collection. I just can't. It's too much. It's just too much. I also have this like sealed like Vestron video workout beta tape. Yeah, and like I love anything 80s aerobics as well. And like I don't know where I found it. It must have been like at a VHS fest or something. Like I was like, it's not Jane Fonda. Like it's just this like random lady.
Jane Fonda do a VHS?
Oh yeah, we'll get there.
Okay.
We'll get there. So the next came the home video industry. So Andre Blay, he's known as the father of home video. He kind of like created like the concept of like video distribution, basically. So he founded his own duplication company called Magnetic Video in 1968, which is the first corporation to release films on beta and VHS for consumer use. So when Sony released the Betamax VCR, Andre, he made a deal with 20th Century Fox to license 50 of their films. You can actually like look up the list on Wikipedia, and I think like one of them was like, I can't remember, but one of the movies was like one of the very, very first like distributed like VHSs like in the history of like film, which is like pretty cool. But yeah, so he licensed them to Magnetic for duplication and distribution. Then after that, he started a direct mail sales business, and it was called Video Club of America. And this basically was like the idea that created video rental stores. So with a Video Club of America, like you could, like it was like a mail order thing. So like you just had these 50 movies that you could choose from. And like you send your cash in an envelope. Remember when that was normal?
Kind of like Netflix before Netflix.
Yeah, and then he would mail you these tapes. But yeah, I love this ad. I don't know about you guys, but it's like one of my favorite ads ever. One of the very, very first consumer VCRs, 1975. Probably weighs half of me. So then that's what basically created video rental shops. So with the advent of VCRs to the consumer market, This is hilarious. Film studios and networks freaked out because people had the ability to record movies that aired on TV and they could rewatch them at their leisure. So reruns were just a concept that was no longer because their audience they didn't have to depend on reruns. They could just record whatever was on TV and watch it at their leisure. And I don't know if you guys remember, but did you ever hook up a VCR to another VCR to record a tape to another tape? Yeah. So once the film studios learned that people were doing this, they definitely freaked out. They're just like, shit, what do we do? Lawsuits. I can't believe there were lawsuits. They tried to ban video renting. That is just something that blows my mind. Disney, Universal, the president of the MPAA, they all filed lawsuits. I think one of them actually got pretty close, but eventually the Supreme Court overruled, and they were okay, we'll declare renting legal, but for a fee, so that would not infringe copyright. So the solution was to have a third-party business purchase the videotapes from the studios and then rent them to the consumers. So this guy over here, he is, there's a documentary about him, but I haven't watched it yet. But the very, very first rental shop was opened in Germany by Eckhard Palm in 1975. So I think the documentary just came out maybe 4 years ago. I can't remember what it's called, but I definitely need to watch that. And then, so shortly after that, video station in Los Angeles opened in 1977 by George Atkinson, and George knew Andre, and he bought the copies of those 50 movies from Magnetic Video. And then just a few short years later, by 1985, the US had over 15,000 video rental stores. I wanted to read a couple quotes here. So film professor Daniel Herbert said that video rental stores helped cement a local movie culture and contribute to the social fabric of a community in small but meaningful ways. And film critic Colin Souter states that video stores provided a film school, a social gathering, a place of cinematic discovery, date nights, and rites of passage. So I find that I do really, really miss video stores. I know they still exist, but I feel that they definitely have a socio-cultural impact. While yes, the internet, it gives us a platform to congregate and meet people virtually to talk about movies. But there's just something, again, about meeting people in person, and it fosters such a more deep, natural connection. Even I read this one article by another critic that was you could go to a video rental store and even chat up the clerk and learn so much from this clerk, and then strike up, conversation. You never know. Maybe a romantic connection. Yeah, definitely. It just that's a great way to build friendships. And I also, the one thing that I really, really miss about the 80s, before the concept of the internet, is I feel we've somehow lost a sense of adventure in society. Actually taking the time, let's say before Google Maps, you actually have to take the time to look at a physical map and write down left on this street, right on this street, you know what I mean? It takes effort, to do that. And the internet technology just makes things so easy for you. And it's okay, sure, it's nice to have things easy for you, but when you accomplish something, when you put the effort into it, it feels good. It's after a workout, I remember riding my bike to the video store and riding it back to the 7-Eleven to get Pepsi Clear and candy, and you never know what could happen on that bike ride. You could saves an animal's life. You could run into a celebrity. It's like, you never know what would happen if you just left your house. And like streaming, that wouldn't happen if you're just like secluded, you know, and just glued to your TV. I'm definitely not one of those people that's like, you know, just like always like glued to my phone. Like, I like to experience life and the world, and you never know what's out there if you don't go out there and experience it. And I definitely like, yeah, I agree with, you know, like the element of adventure is something that is like slightly missing with the advent of technology and the internet. And also, like, I love just looking through junk. I don't know about you guys, but browsing is an investment of fun labor. Like, I love going to flea markets, antique shops, looking through stuff and like picturing, like, you know, like these strange like oddities that are like 100 years old. Like, who owned them? Like, what did they do with them? Like, there's a story along with this object. Like, you know, it's just, I find that stuff kind of interesting. I like it a lot. I also really appreciate that video stores, I mean, they still do, but definitely back then they contributed to independent film culture as well. So by carrying a lot of low budget movies, a lot of those filmmakers, like, they didn't, you know, like, they shot movies in their houses with very, very small budgets. They don't have like the distribution money that, you know, film studios like allow you to have, and like they would sometimes even just go to like mom and pop shops and be like, I made this like shot on video movie, can you rent it for me? And they make a deal, and like even that's how you found out about a lot of really like low, like unknown independent like low budget movies that weren't shown in theaters. So now we're going to talk about VHS cover art, one of my favorite things about VHS. So these are some of my favorites, and yeah, the dedication and craftsmanship that artists have put into beautiful covers has definitely made a huge imprint in my childhood brain. I don't know why this was something that always like sticks out in my memory, but when I was a kid, for some reason, I saw like Die Hard, the cover of Die Hard and the cover of Halloween around the same time, and they like amalgamated in my brain, and I always thought they were like the same movie. Like, I was like really, really young, so like I was and I was pretty afraid of horror movies when I was very young, and obviously everybody like always talked about like Halloween, and I just remember like one time looking at the Die Hard cover and being like so scared of like Bruce Willis's face, because I thought it was Michael Myers, but like they're actually like kind of similar looking. Like, it's just like a half like white face. I actually like, I Googled it once and I was like, oh, I'm not the only one. Oh my God, other people thought the same thing too. It's crazy. But yeah, like just like perusing the shelves like as a kid and like looking at all of the different covers. Like, I love those memories so much. And another reason why I love collecting them, because now I can just look at that in my apartment. Like, they're just on my shelves now all the time for my viewing pleasure. And VHS cover art was also a great way to discover artists' work, like Frank Frazetta, Boris Vallejo, and art is so important in life and society. You know, it influences us in so many different ways. Like, we get art tattooed, we attend art galleries, which strikes conversations and builds commonality and relationships among people. It's like a form of expression that preserves history and awareness of different cultures, whether you're the artist or the admirer. However, how many of us have picked up a VHS and bought it based on the cover and watched the movie and been like, this is a pile of shit? So that's definitely happened on more than one occasion. So yeah, sometimes the covers are misleading. However, you know what? I still keep them for the covers, you know? And but I'm also a big fan of like even like really bad, like trashy, awful, terrible movies. So I do. I'm the weirdo that will like rewatch those movies, but yeah. So these are some of my favorites. So some of these are, some of my, some of them, like even like I've just not even like displayed here are like newly discovered movies. Some of them are fond childhood movies that I grew up with. Some of them I have hanging on my walls. Definitely Master Blaster. I don't know what it is about that cover, but I've always been obsessed with that cover. Like the idea of like having the lady on the gun is just like so cool. Spookies, like I love the Spookies cover. I bought a t-shirt of that one. Demon Warp, like there's so much going on here. Like what is Sasquatch, Graveyard, George Kennedy? What is this movie? Sleepaway Camp, that's one of my favorite covers. I have that tape, the media tape, which is a rare one because like you see like the letter on the top of the cover. The media one, if you turn the tape around, like it actually has like the full letter written on the back. And like I'm also a big fan of like the top and bottom flaps that open as well. The Golden Child, okay, nobody ever talks about this movie, and I don't know why because it's fantastic. You guys have seen The Golden Child? Yes? Oh my goodness. I feel like it came out around the same time as Big Trouble in Little China, and like because that was John Carpenter, like it kind of like took more of the attention away, but like it's so good and it's one of my favorites, and this cover is just so nostalgic for me. Like I had this movie recorded on a tape and I just watched it like over and over and over and over again. Like it's just one of my, but if you want to watch something that's like a fantasy adventure like along the lines of Big Trouble in Little China, I highly recommend it. It's a wonderful movie. And Hands of Steel, like that cover is glorious and the biggest one on this slide because I have the poster in my bedroom. It's a full, and like I usually don't buy folded posters, but it was for sale like years ago and I was like, well, I'm not gonna not buy a poster of Hands of Steel. With Daniel Green, who's also in the Elvira movie. He's the muscly like hot dude in the Elvira movie. You're right, this is a good bottle. Yeah, I wish I could show more, but that would just take up too much time. So yeah, art definitely influences people to create art as well. And during the pandemic, a lot of people, like with downtime, picked up hobbies. And I was an artist in one of my former lives. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to get back into some painting. And I was very motivated to paint one of my favorite movies / covers, Trancers. I love Trancers 1, 2, and 3, but 4 and 5 I'm kind of like, I don't really care about like the medieval like times ones, but yeah, the Trancers franchise is another like underrated. Are they? No, they're Empire or Full Moon. Jack Death. Nobody knows Trancers? Okay, 2 people know Trancers. That's awesome. But yeah, I was like, I'm just gonna pick up my paintbrushes and decided to paint that, and I was like, yay, I should probably get back into painting. And then we have some really cool concepts that started coming out, like 3D box covers, like the Black Roses one. Some of them were light up ones, like the Dead Pit is a 3D cover and the eyes would like light up. Frankenhooker has a button on it that you can press and it says, "Want a date?" Yeah, I also am a big fan of the Willies. A movie as well, but that tape. The only other one that I know of that has a double cover like that is The Boneyard, which is a fantastic movie that I don't own and am looking for. But yeah, like I didn't even realize that my Willie's tape like had an extra cover, and I had it in my hand one day and I was about to watch it and I was like, why does this feel like thick? And I was like, holy shit, there's another cover over this cover? This is incredible. It's awesome. What a great idea. The lenticular ones are really cool, like that. It's kind of hard to like see like a photo of a lenticular item, but like the Demon Wind one, when you move it like around, he like crashes through the window. The Jack Frost one is hilarious. The hologram ones are really cool. Mirror, Mirror, I have that one and the sequel. This one though, the Fright Night Part 2 coffin box, Jesus Christ. I'll never own that. There's no way. I think that it's a PAL though, right? I'm pretty sure.
It's the Australian release.
It is the Australian, is it?
Yeah, and the Australian release of Hellraiser 1 and 2 is in that double box. I'm not sure if you've seen that.
I have not seen that one, no.
It's pretty sick. Yeah, they did a lot of these like oversized, like oddball shades.
Oh, that's awesome. I have always, like, I don't know, it's just like, yeah, we're talking about like Grail tapes. Like that's a Grail tape for me, even though I don't have a PAL player, but it would just be incredible to own that,
Yeah,
like
I mean, they
coffin
don't-
shape.
Like they don't fit your shelf. So
I know. You have to have it like on
Yeah.
display, like in a glass case, like do not touch. Like yeah, that. But like also, I just want to say that Fright Night 2 is so underrated. If you haven't watched it, like please watch it. I did a Rewind Zone episode for Rumor TV on it, and like nobody ever talks about it because everybody loves like Fright Night 1, which is a great movie, but Part 2 is amazing.
I was just curious, how does how is the Willie's cover like? Is it just a sleeve inside of a sleeve?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like it's really like tight. Like they're like the same size, and like that's why I didn't know that I had one that had like a double cover until like one day like I was like just like inspecting it, and I'm like, why does it feel so like much thicker? But yeah, the only other one that I know of that they did that with was the Boneyard. But yeah, pretty cool things happening with the VHS, different releases. But yeah, I highly recommend this book if you wanted to scope out more VHS cover art by Thomas Hodge. It's a fantastic book. That's actually how I found out about Master Blaster. I was like, I need this movie with a lady as a gun. Yes, please. But yeah, there's some other books I can recommend. I believe this is going to be on YouTube later, so you'll be able to like look at this later to add these to your wish list. But Analog, if you're an SOV fan, I highly recommend Analog Nightmares by Richard Mogg, the Video Hunter's Guide by Ron Swan, Joel Gunn, Bleeding Skull. I love Bleeding Skull, and they put out a couple books. There's the 1980 one is like really expensive and like rare now, but they just released like a 1990s one like not too long ago that explores a lot of like shot on video, like never released before movies. From Betamax to Blockbuster is another book I highly recommend, and VHS Absurd, Odd, and Ridiculous Relics from the Videotape Era by the Found Footage Festival guys. And those guys, they always host VHS Fest at the Mahoning, so if you're ever on that side of the continent, I highly recommend it. VHS board games! Did somebody say, what is that?
Yeah. I don't know what that is. What is it?
Oh my goodness! Okay, so I accidentally started collecting VHS board games. Yes, definitely. It is a thing. Let me tell you. So the most popular one is like hands down Nightmare. And if you caught the panel with the co-creator, Philip Tanner, who's sitting right over there, and my colleague Andrea, they did their panel a couple hours ago on Nightmare, aka Atmosphere. And I love the shit out of Nightmare. I played it, like it came out in 1992, so I was around like 9 when it came out, and it was very popular in Canada, and like I'll never forget. Okay, like you guys, like come on, like people have played this game, right? Okay, when I was a kid, I just remember my sister like having her friends over during the day playing this game, and towards the end of the hour when the gatekeeper starts to get like scarier and more creepy and like more intense, like I couldn't handle it, and I ran away into my bedroom. Like I was too fucking scared. I was terrified. But yeah, I was actually doing some digging and like didn't realize that there was a Nightmare Pepsi challenge, which is amazing. But yeah, VHS board games. you just have the, like your board and the VHS that goes into the VCR, and there's usually a host that you play by their rules, and they talk to you. And I didn't like. There are a few that I've just always had in my collection that were my favorites. Like, of course, the Star Trek TNG game with Gowron, the counselor of the Klingons, is one of my favorites as well because I'm a huge Trekkie, but also like Robert O'Reilly being like the gatekeeper character is incredible. But I kind of just like started like noticing like seeing them around like at like flea markets, and like there's actually a lot of VHS board games that were created in the 80s that I didn't even like know about. And whenever I would find them, I'd be like, sure, I'll buy this. And now I'm just like amassing them. And I'm like, okay, so I guess I'm collecting them now. But yeah, I have all the Nightmares. I have the Clue VHS board game. They made 2, and I have both of them. And it was actually so much fun. Like there's all these like really cool pieces, and like the characters like from Clue are like on the videotape, and you have to like figure out who the murderer is. And like there's even like the cards that have like the blue and red like 3D, and like you have to use this like visor to like see what the clue is. It's actually pretty innovative. It's awesome. I have the RoboCop VHS board game, but I gotta say it's actually kind of boring. It's not great. They just play clips from the movies. Like I was expecting like RoboCop to like be the host of the game. I have one called Commercial Crazies. And it's basically, you know how like auctioneer like hosts, like they talk like blah, 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 blah. It's commercials that are played at that speed, and then you have to guess what they are selling. And I haven't played it yet because I just got it recently, but there's a really, really, really cool like horror one called Doorways to Horror that I have. There's a Honeymooners VHS fucking game. Like, that show was only 1 season, but they made a VHS board game. So I was like, yeah, I will buy this for $3. And they, there's so many. Like, there's one that I just got at VHS Fest this year, Isaac Asimov's like Robots. It kind of reminds me of like Max Headroom. Like, so the host is like kind of looks like that nightmare, which is a different kind of nightmare. But there's a couple that I really need though that I don't have yet. The Wayne's World one, 5 minutes. Okay.
Bye, Dan.
And Dragon Strike. So Dragon Strike is kind of like the D&D VHS board game, but I really need it because the sword man is played by Darren McBee, who is Malibu from American Gladiator. I'm also a big fan of the big boxes, so Wizard Video or like the classic like big box. There's a few others, like the MGM ones, the gray ones. Like there's a few vendors here that have those ones as well. And I'm also a big fan of like the double tape sets that are just like extra thick, and Midnight Video, that's a classic big box as well. I didn't realize I was talking this much, so I'm gonna like blast through this for the next 5 minutes. So yeah, and then came the fitness and instructional VHS craze. So every mom owned like Abs of Steel or Buns of Steel or Jane Fonda workout tapes. And then from then on, celebrities just got in on the fad. And these are all in my collection of the fitness ones. And I just wanted to note the very bottom, the Playgirl hunker size. This is a real thing, and it's Prism Video, and it's a double clamshell. Like, I found that somewhere, and I was like, I just take my money. Like, I need this. This is amazing. But and then we also have the instructional tapes. I love finding ones that are hosted by celebrities, because they cringe at the idea that they did that like 30 years ago. But there's this one on the top. It's actually like, okay, it sounds really funny winning at parenting without beating your kids. But I watched it and it's actually really boring. It's like a seminar or something. But the one next to it, Fabio teaching romance. Like, this is a real thing. I love it. But yeah, there's some of them at the bottom. The ones on the bottoms I don't own, but I'm always looking for, like surviving edged weapons. I need that. It was like a police tape, like for like training like new like cops, and they have these scenarios in it. It's just like ridiculous. Like a man walking up to like knock on someone's door and a knife going through the mail slot. Like it's just.
We'll point out the guy in the cover somebody is getting stabbed by a gas can.
It's awesome. And who remembers car rewinders? Yeah. I have a red one, but yeah, I'll move on. But yeah, the importance of preserving physical media. We do need to clean our tapes and our VCRs. That's actually a picture of my video head cleaner, like from my childhood, that still works. Because like the heads in the VCRs, like they can collect dust particles, so you definitely need to clean those. A lot of tapes, if you don't watch them, or if they are around a lot of humidity, they can get mold. So definitely preserving film in temperature-controlled rooms is very important. But I wanted to highlight the difference between physical media and streaming, and why I prefer physical media. Streaming doesn't have special features like interviews and commentaries and deleted scenes, stuff like that. And streaming has ads, commercials, relies on the internet. Like, what are you gonna do if there's a blackout? Well, tape collectors don't have to worry about that. And also content varies on region. Like I know American Netflix has different stuff than Canadian Netflix. And also streaming platforms censor things. So that's another reason why physical media is much better. Yeah, definitely like VHS collecting is still so relevant. There are companies that you can like buy like solvents and machines that can like clean your devices for you. And I'm a big fan of companies like Vinegar Syndrome, TerrorVision, because they specialize in film restoration, especially a lot of like lower budget and independent films that were just like never given a proper release. And these are movies dating back to the 60s, which is wonderful. What else we got here? And yeah, I have some tapes here that are super nostalgic for me, that I got signed from people, and it's like another reason why I love physical media, because it comes along with the story, and I wish I could go into it further with you, but I'm running out of time. But I'm also a big fan of labels as well. Like if I'm hunting for tapes and I see AIP or PM, take my money, because you know what you're getting into, you know? Like you find like a radon film, like you know the kind of movie that you're gonna get when you find a radon tape. I really love VHS so much because I love the previews a lot, because that's how I discover a lot of movies that I've never heard of from those decades. So yeah, we're almost done. Back to earlier when I was talking about nostalgia and how important it is to me, and the validity of fond memories and how it enriches our lives. A lot of families like home videos that were recorded in the 80s, you know, like they contain a lot of special moments in people's lives, and may have, you know, loved ones that have passed away since then. And these memories on tape are important to preserve, you know, these memories and keep them alive in your hearts. So that also triggers like positive emotions. The importance of tangible things is paramount to preserving history, you know, because not everything is online or stored on a cloud. I mean, yes, it is great to have a backup of everything, but like I said earlier, you can't smell a Kindle. And you can't touch a streaming movie. I want to touch my tapes. Like I said, which tape was it I would go to bed with? Oh yeah, Secret of the Ooze. And also like going back to like the painting that I did, you know, like the art will like motivate me to have like more goals, to do more art, like paint more. Yeah, the documentation of history especially like teaches us more about ourselves and society. You know, it tells stories that we share with each other, and there's always so much more to learn and discover. There's like I'm so bad for keeping up with new movies, to be honest, because I'm still still trying to catch up with all the movies that came out in the 80s. Like, there's so many. There's just so many. And it's also like, yeah, when going back to the seeing the spines and the cover art, it's eye candy. Like, I get pure joy just looking at my tape wall. And it's like having my own personal video store in my apartment. It's wonderful. The 80s just never left my heart and my life. And it also, you know, like increases physical activity. Like I said before, like walk, leave your house, go to the video rental store, you know, talk to people. It encourages reconnection as well. Like even if you're looking at like a tape that you used to watch with a friend, you know, 30 years ago, and you haven't talked to this friend in a long time, like you feel like reaching out again and reconnecting with them. So that's another really important thing that I find about nostalgia. These are some of the many reasons why I love VHS. Thank you so much for sitting here with me and joining me. That's me in the middle.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and here are a few more videos for you to check out.